Hello and welcome. This is Playing Favorites, the Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi final 3 episode review. I guess that's what we're calling it, right? Does that sound good?
Right, Justin. We're going to be talking today about episodes 4, 5, and 6 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, this limited series. I'm Paul.
I'm Justin.
And hello again. And we've just finished, well, not just finished, but episode 6 came out today.
Yes.
And we've watched it. We've watched it, I think, probably, maybe, have you watched it twice?
I wanted to watch it twice. I've watched the important part twice.
Yes, the important part. Yeah, there's a few important.
Yes, but the reason you're watching the show part.
Yes. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah. I watched it this morning at 6 in the morning. I'm exhausted. I'm going to say I'm very tired because we just so you know, if you haven't been here before, we also do other things here. Last night we were streaming a video game. We were streaming Resident Evil, completely not related to Star Wars. We were streaming
very scary game.
Resident Evil 2 remake. I did not get to sleep very well because of that. And then I woke up at 6 in the morning to watch this thing. I am tired. I was falling asleep at work today.
Oh my gosh, Justin, listen. Yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, I've been out of it, and really, once it was 8 o'clock, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. But I gotta ask, you were texting me and asking me hey, did you have any nightmares last night? Because I'm such a fraidy cat for these games. But you're the one that had no sleep.
I didn't
and was
have
up
nightmares.
All night
No, I get wired after I play games like that. I can't go to sleep. That's the problem. I just
you were having fever dreams about the Obi-Wan episode. You're just so excited.
Well, I did tweet about that. I said, how do you go to sleep? How do you go to sleep before it's going to be here in 3 hours? How do you sleep?
Just one sleep. Yeah, one sleep away.
But we're here to talk about not just episode 6. We're here to talk about the last 3 episodes. If you haven't checked it already, we did our review of the first 3 episodes. For the most part, we've been pretty high on the show. Obviously, like we normally do in these shows, we obviously can share our criticisms, but at least I tend to err a little more on the positive side. Paul's a very positive person, but
not me. No, listen, people who've listened to us or watched us in the past, Justin appears more on the positive side, but he is just as critical. He can be just as critical and just as much.
Yes,
he's got a sharp.
But like a true mentor, you can be critical.
I'm so glad you've been coaching this Star Wars season along. But okay. Let's
before we get a little housekeeping here. If you haven't been to us before, please
dive in.
Just so you know, Playing Favorites. We do a ton of other things. Just check out our YouTube channel. You're already on here, I'm assuming, or if you're listening to our podcast, go to our YouTube channel.
Check it out.
You can go either way for these types of shows. In the past, we've always talked about favorite things. That's why we're called Playing Favorites. So you can get those first 60 episodes we've done. You can kind of get a sense of our tastes, how they are similar and how they vary. Star Wars is a big part of that conversation. It's kind of why we focus so much lately on Star Wars. We just played through all the Lego Star Wars recently, and a lot
of new Star Wars stuff. So it's hard to avoid, talking about these things and our favorite things. But
before this episode, I was literally just talking about how I've enjoyed this little renaissance of Star Wars. That at least the Star Wars version for the Paul Renaissance for Star Wars. You've been very high on the High Republic, and
that I will never pull a punch because those books are good.
Yeah, but we've been excited for Jedi Fallen Order, which we'll probably talk about today in this show. I've been replaying that on the side, but personally, you've been replaying it. A lot of Star Wars stuff. It's exciting times, and this show helps with that. I'm going to say right here. I mean, we're going to each episode, but I know you're going to say something. And I'll actually, what? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let you go finish your thought now that we've done our housekeeping. Go follow us, subscribe, click that bell.
Yes, check out our Facebook page, our link tree,
Twitter. Go to Twitter. Yes, we have Facebook page, but go to our Twitter account.
Hey, we've been doing some fun stuff on our Twitter page lately, and that's been really good. So, yes, let's dive right into the meat of this. So we're gonna talk about episodes 4, 5, and 6, as we said. Episode 4, let's just call it Jedi Fallen Order live action. All right, let's just call it what it is.
It is what it is.
in a sense, it's almost like it was giving to people what we got by playing that game, for people who never played the game. But those of us who did and know the story were kind of like, oh, really? You can just, like, people just keep breaking into this Fortress Inquisitorius, which I gotta tell you, it's really hard to say that name with a straight face, and I gotta applaud the actors and
The
everybody
one
who called
person.
it.
They did a good job at that. It's like
I was like, nice job.
like,
Nice
well,
job.
this is
Good
where
job
this
saying
is
it.
where she is. Like, you're gonna in Fortress and Perry.
Inquisitorius. It's like, thank you. You got the label. You read the label right under the building, which is a really cool design for a fortress, which I don't blame them for wanting to use in live action, right? Because it's introduced. I don't think they actually do. They show it in Rebels? I'm not.
No,
too
it's only been
familiar with
Jedi.
that.
It's only been in Jedi Fallen Order.
That was when they actually showed their home base of the Inquisitors.
Yeah.
And it's this awesome structure that's mostly underwater that just like peaks with this, black pyramid like coming out of the ocean. And it's like an ocean world too, so it seems like it's kind of like a needle in a haystack. Really hard to find this place. And we also learned in these episodes that it's in the Mustafar system, which is very interesting because
I
that
didn't
means
catch
it's very close.
I was going to ask that question. I'm
Vader's
like,
fortress.
you think that he'd put his Inquisitors on the same plan as him, but he just wants Mustafar for himself, I guess. I don't know.
It was kind of like a throwaway line, and I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense for him to have like this fortress of, users be kind of nearby. Like it's in the Mustafar system, and
Yeah.
that was, I think, Obi-Wan who said like, oh, well, then he knows, or like he'll be close, but he's distracted because they're talking about infiltrating the fortress to rescue Leia.
Okay,
Reva.
so I must have. That's why he wasn't like when he's like Obi-Wan's doing his thing, running around. Like
that's the series, right?
Yeah, like no, in the fortress, like like we're gonna get to that. Like that's the one plot point that with this episode that I couldn't understand. Like, where was Vader this whole time? I didn't realize he was. I knew he was like, oh, he's not there right now. But then they show him in the back to tank in the beginning of the episode. So it's like, I thought he was like in the same building the whole time and just in the back to tank. I'm like, oh no, he's on, because it's like, just because we're gonna jump around. I'm thinking like, because at the end, like he just appears out of nowhere. I'm like, what? Did you just hide to get your clothes on and just get angry? Like what?
He's just like, oh shit! Like his helmet's half on, the back thing is not on yet. He's just running like to his ship. Hold the bus. He's running down. Anyways, I would like to say that, like Fallen Order, it's interesting though. It makes me think of Fallen Order a little bit differently, knowing how close Vader is. And okay, spoilers if you've never played the game, but Vader does make an appearance in the game, and it makes sense knowing that their fortress is in the Mustafar system for him to just like show up at the end of that game, because at the end of the game it's just like, oh okay, like it's very surprising, don't get me wrong, and it's a cool shock and a very cool part of the game. But if you're like really thinking about it, like, oh, was it just Darth Vader like hanging out in the fortress, teaching? Did he have his own group of younglings he's like teaching with their little remotes? Like, this is how you
so Fallen Order supposedly happens, I think, 5 years before this one. I think that's how that happens, because
I think this happens concurrently.
No, that's the sequel. The sequel's concurrent.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
you're
the
right.
sequel will be concurrent to this. So 5 years ago, they had a Jedi infiltrate this fortress from the water system,
and you could imagine that the meeting afterwards was very much like, okay, we will never let this happen again. And then this is when you do like the 5 years later on the bottom, and you start playing like the Curb Your Enthusiasm music as Obi-Wan just like swims it.
Oh, man.
He used all of his episode 1 swimming technique there to get, like, he swam to Ota Gunga. He's got good, he's got a good stroke.
It's the same breathing, man. He keeps it a sentimental,
Yep.
Makes him think of his master that he can't speak to yet. So we'll get to that. But no, overall, I everyone's low. I mean, I think everyone there's a consensus. I haven't heard anyone say like episode 4 was the best episode of the series. Like, no, it's definitely the lower part Like I would say, episode 2 was probably my least favorite out of the first 3.
Okay, yeah, I can agree with that. It's like slowed down again, and
It's
just kind
just
of like,
it was just
what are
like
we
I
doing
didn't mind.
here?
I don't know. It's just like it was like you've mentioned in our last recap thing. It's like Leia's running away again. Like she's just constantly being a like the ending of 2 was great. Like with Reva
Direction
killing
needs to
Inquisitor
stop.
and all that stuff. Like, but like just
Mhm.
the lead up and I don't know that whole planet of Diude or whatever it was. The
Well,
little
the little what?
like the underground planet. The kind of like the
Oh, okay, yeah,
like you
yeah.
got his getting like I liked some parts of 2. It's just like I
Mm.
sometimes like this one 4 more than that episode, and the only reason I like 4 more than that episode is because this is like true like Blue Point nostalgic Star Wars formula. Like it's like let's go rescue Leia, let's go shoot all the cameras on the wall, let's go run around like Death Star looking places and have fumbling
Yeah.
stormtroopers. Like that's what this episode was to me.
Yeah, and I feel like the first half, like this is whereas like in the second episode, the first half of that was kind of slow, and the second half really kind of like speeds up and gets a little bit more interesting. I feel like it was the opposite for this one. I feel like all the important kind of interesting stuff was in the beginning, and then the second half kind of just fizzled out. And my God, I mean, Obi-Wan walking with a trench coat and Leia underneath his trench coat. That's like something out of Get Smart. I mean, really, like, but nobody notices. Like, there is, if they were like in a bustling, like market town or something, totally fine, totally
I
fine.
guess
They're
they're
on
like
Jakku,
there's only
they're at
one thing we
Maz's
can.
castle,
Well,
wherever.
the only
It's fine.
thing, the only
But
cut.
on the
Wait.
fucking Inquisitorius, there's a guy with a trench coat holding a child underneath. Why not just have 2 children stacked on top of each other with a trench coat? Them trying to pass as an adult. Like, it's so ridiculous. And then there's like 2 snow speeders come to see. But didn't
Hey.
you? Because hey, didn't you? As a person, they're just speeders. That's fine. I'm not really concerned of what they're speeding over.
I would
Snow
say I
or
know. I
rock.
wanted to say. Wait, I'm going to interrupt you.
What?
Do not
Oh, okay.
discredit Wade, please. Wade did a lot of good stuff.
Wade gave his life. Yeah, he did. Good
Wade.
job, Wade. It's like already they're not even the rebellion yet, and they're already acting.
He got killed
like
by a box.
rebels losing. Like Wade.
He literally got killed by a box. Poor Wade.
What's in that box? I don't know. Throw it. Bam. Listen, the speeders. You remember Luke and Dak, right? Is it Dak in the back with him in Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, it's Dak.
Dak. There's not a lot of room back there. How did Obi-Wan and Leia and what's her name get into Talia? Get into the Tala? How did they get into the speeder? I wanted to see like a close up of them like up against the glass, like squeezed in
Maybe
there.
there's more room than we think. Maybe it's a different model. Could be a different model.
Don't do this for them.
That one's a passenger speeder. There's no gun in the back. Maybe there's more room.
There's no harpoon.
There was
in the
no
back.
gun. He couldn't. There was no gunner.
Look at you. Who are you defending? Why
I've
are you
been
defending?
doing this for decades. You can't stop me.
Yes, I'm wearing you down.
I
slowly, like
spent
millstone grinding.
I spent
corn.
10 years defending episode 1. Oh, how come the technology looks so much better? Well, you see, the rebels, they were underground. They didn't have a lot of money. In the Imperials, they didn't care about aesthetics whatsoever.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of Imperials, Tala gets to use her Imperial authority, right, to get them clearance.
Tala was the highlight of this. Well, Tala was great.
She really is. But then, like, I wish like there was more. Like, she's a really cool character, but I wanted more about her. I wanted more about like what made her decide to, leave. And I guess we get that in episode 5 before she dies, when she like very briefly when she's talking to Leia and she shows her the whole.
We got it. We got it. The limited amount of time.
More about the moment of why she decided like the Empire was not for her. Like,
well, she was killed. She murdered a bunch of families that were force sensitive, I guess. So.
Yeah, I guess. It's one thing to just say it, but then it's another to kind of like experience it. Like there's ways to
Well,
convey that, I guess.
that's
But
another
that's what we
TV
get.
show. That's right there.
That's
Notice
what
you
we
have
get.
the Tala Ned show.
Please don't. That's like the Cassian show
Or
that's
the
coming out. It'll be like, yep, in 20 years you'll get a show about Tala that'll explain
I can
everything.
see them doing a comic book.
Sure, comics are the place to go, I think. Isn't it funny how for the longest time Star Wars comics, the Dark Horse Star Wars comics were what we considered like the continuation of the Star Wars story. And then they were like, no, they're garbage. They're out. And now we're going back to comics. Like it's been really since, you know, a lot
Oh,
of the
well, I mean,
they haven't
did
disregarded the comics. They've started their own,
well
but a lot of cool stuff.
Disney made that point when they bought it, was that they want to reset it so anything they publish in publication would be considered canon.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but so you got some things like we didn't really talk about. I mean, I've kind of hinted at it, and it carries over into episode 5 a little bit. I know we got the more writings on the wall. So
Hmm.
like you got all the Jedi. There's so many Legends characters like listed on that. It's awesome.
Who was in there? Could you tell me? Because I
So
didn't
I
really,
don't
I
know.
knew there
Some
was going to
some of
be
them
more,
I
but I
don't.
didn't look into it.
Some of them I don't remember. I'd have to look up the list. But the one that gets me the most that I read, some been translated because they're all like translations through using Airbrush, the Star Wars
Mhm.
language. Was the Jedi name of Hal Horn, which is the father of Corran Horn,
Okay,
who
you've
is
talked
like
about
my
that.
favorite
Yeah.
Legends character. I mean, that's who I cosplay as.
Hmm.
He's the character from the X-wing books. That he was a Krillian security officer and didn't realize he was the son of a Jedi that escaped you know the purge. And eventually he joins the Rogue Squadron rebels and stuff. And during the fight to take Coruscant, he learns that he has force powers. But he's kind of an interesting character. I've always liked his character. But anyways, which is even
Interesting.
more to that, the name of the character, the boy in episode 2, like the boy that the fake Jedi saves, he sends him to Corellia.
Oh, yeah.
His name is Corrin on the
Oh,
casting call.
oh.
Just saying.
Hmm. Interesting. So just a little tip of the cap, right?
Yeah.
Not like this is the gateway to something more, but just the tip of the cap. Was there anybody else in there? Did you
I
notice?
mean, I'm sure I'd have to look it up. That's the one that
It's
stuck
kind
out
of
to
that's
me.
kind of a huge, yeah, like a huge,
But yeah, they've listed
expanded universe.
the path that was kind of designed that they're on, right? That opens up so many possibilities, right? You got Quinlan Voss that was brought up too. He was a character from Legends that
Clone Wars.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was a Legends character first because you always had
Oh,
they had a few Legends characters that bled into canon, like
yeah.
Quinlan Voss was one. I mean, you could even say that even Ventress kind of was Legends at one point because she wasn't really
Part of
canon,
that.
right?
Yeah, she was
Even
the
the same character.
Clone
What's
Wars.
that? Dirge.
Part of that. Yes, Dirge, the bounty hunter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's now canon. Thrawn obviously was Legends. I mean, he's canon. So it's like you're in Revan is considered technically canon now. I mean, it's just you haven't seen that yet. So he's
Yeah.
in one of the books, the illustration, like those guides, and I guess that name was like listed somewhere. So,
Okay.
but yeah, so it's kind of cool seeing all that stuff. But I just want to add like a couple things with the whole like episode 4 before we move on because I know that's not the meat of this discussion. I actually didn't mind the whole like interrogation of Leia. I thought that was okay. I mean, I don't think it was the greatest thing. I know you don't like it. I didn't think it bothered me.
It's just like I didn't really care about it. It's still like you're still kind of questioning like what's Riva's motive
Yeah,
here.
that is weird, but
It is actually like a decent play between them, like, and it's fun watching Riva getting frustrated talking
Yeah.
to Leia. You know, like
Yeah.
that's like 10-year-old conversation. Like, give me what I want. No, just everything that that frustrates you about talking with a child.
like I like watching all this stuff that Leia goes through as a 10-year-old. Though it's like you got your Carrie Fisher New Hope version. It's like she probably just grew up with Bale telling her stories, and she's like, "Yeah, I gotta go save these people." No, she like lived it. Like she was tortured in an interrogation chamber. Like my understanding, what I'm confused about is like no one else seemed to like ever want to kidnap her again. Like I don't understand. Like she just goes to be a senator, and that's cool. Like,
Well, I feel like it gets covered up. Like it's not really known outside of like a certain circle of people that she was even ever kidnapped. You know, like they kept it
yeah,
kind
but I
of
think
pushed up.
yeah, I know. It's like Vader knows, and I guess I never really kind of were face to face. But you think that he knew the plan, like of Leia, right? I mean, you would assume.
Yeah, that from his perspective, Riva kidnapped a daughter of a senator because that senator was close to Obi-Wan, and
Sure.
she's using it as leverage to pull to get Obi-Wan out. Like that's the gambit she's taking. You know, she's
I
trying
wonder
to,
why they
you
couldn't
know.
tell she was force sensitive. I wonder if she doesn't. Maybe she's not. I guess showing as
Well, I
knowing.
feel like yeah, like it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't come out unless she's like really concentrating on it, like she concentrated when she was talking to her mom when she was in deep shit.
Which I
And
find like even add a little layer to that. It's like she's like what 10, and
Mhm.
like Anakin was like 9, I think, in episode 1, and
Yeah,
he was showing things left and right, and for some reason Yoda thinks that's too old. It's like no, no, too old.
too old. He's too old. Yoda knows best. Yoda knew best.
But I like I didn't mind that only because like I love the last scene with Vader, like him like going like the shot of him like just like storming into the room at the end of episode 4 was awesome. I love that. I don't know why.
but but you and I were both like, she's dead. Like there should be even the other Inquisitors that are in there. They're like,
Oh,
oh,
oh yeah, the fifth
oh.
brother. He's like cowering
He like
backwards.
hurries back, but he can barely like hide his smile. You know, he's just
I
like,
do like the fifth brothers live action adaptation. The seventh sister, I think that's who that is. She was
she's not
okay.
wearing her mask at all. Like they showed her in Rebels without the mask a couple times, but it's I'm used to her being
With
kind of like the
the helmet,
seventh sister, like yeah, like what's
like
her
Trillo.
name? Like Trilla with the
The second one,
actual
yeah.
inquisitorial.
We never got the numbering system.
No, they're not going to explain it.
Someday we will.
And they didn't really. I really wish they showed at least the Inquisitor, the Grand Inquisitor, in like a bacta tank or something. Because when is it episode 5 when he comes back,
Yeah,
or is it in this
episode
one?
5. Yeah, let's talk about
That's
episode 5. Let's just get into that because that's I think that's
yep.
really good.
This was a real highlight, and certainly from episode 4, this felt like an improvement because we open with the Coruscant skyline and Anakin, clearly as a Padawan, and like you said that there's a theory that he's looking at possibly Padme's apartment, and
That's
it's
what
like
people are saying.
I don't I don't really need that if he did or not. Like it doesn't really add anything to the
I
scene.
know people are
What, what
they're just saying that apartment looks familiar. What's he staring at? Oh, at the building. Oh, look at that building. It looks like this building.
It's
Yeah,
just what Jedi do. They stare out windows. Like that's what they did in episode 1 when we first saw like
I mean he was just
Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. They're
to
just like
me
staring
to me
distance.
it's just a reference to the like it's more of an homage to that pose he does in episode 2 when he's like thinking of his mother and like Padme comes out and like
Oh,
looking gorgeous from sleeping like
yes. It's
uh,
like you had a nightmare last night. It's like Jedi don't have nightmares. It's like I heard you.
but
He's such a
he's like standing in that
hormonal
that like kind
child.
of like I don't know what you want to call that conservatory foyer thing that looks outside of this vista. You know, it has like the columns. Like he's standing there, like all stoic, like looking over the. That's the shot. That's to me, it just reminisces that shot when you're seeing him standing there.
Only characteristic of Anakin. Then, if that's what you're seeing, like yeah, that's how he waits for things at parade rest with his arms behind his back, hands behind his back, just waiting.
Well,
And
he's
then we get yeah, like Obi-Wan coming in for training and saying, like, "Are you ready?" He's like, "Are you?" And it's so clearly this, this pre-Attack of the Clones Anakin so cocksure and full of himself, and it's fun to watch Obi-Wan kind of dismantle him and say, like, you can be the strongest, you can be the fastest, but if you're not the smartest, you're gonna lose. If you're not, if you can't get past your own ego, your own like aggression, then you're going to lose. And he really did. And it's like, it's not necessarily trickery, but he outmatched him.
Mm-hmm.
Anakin, but at the time, Anakin's like, all right, he's like, good try, old friend, patting him on the back.
Man, I don't know, that was a low. Like, I mean,
listen.
You're obviously you're getting this flashback throughout the course of the episode, which honestly, that cutting and editing of that, the way they handled that was really, really good. Like, I liked how they piecemealed that throughout the.
It made me feel like Vader was reminiscing about that just as much as Obi-Wan was.
Yes.
It was almost like they were kind of thinking of the same kind of moment,
Sure.
And, no, it was good to kind of split it up, kind of, mark the episodes like beats with that.
But it was kind of a low blow from Obi-Wan.
Hayden Christensen, right?
What? Oh yeah.
And we got to see Hayden Christensen not in a suit
or like
bird cap or anything, just him.
But no, like the ending of that flashback where he's like, if you can't figure that out, like a Padawan, you'll remain. I'm like, geez, Obi-Wan, that's like a low blow. It's like, no wonder he wanted to leave the Jedi. It's like, come on.
There's some of that's like, but at the same time, it's like he's trying to rein in a wild bull. Like Anakin is almost like like seeing that. It's like Anakin is almost like has grown like almost beyond his like ability to control him, ability to direct him and teach him, because like if this is pre-Attack of the Clones, then in Attack of the Clones we get all that awkward kind of hostility between them in front of other people. It's like a couple fighting in front of other couples. Like, ooh, like everybody just kind of like doesn't want to.
I've always wondered. I always wonder though, like if the war didn't happen, right? If you never had this war of like the Clone Wars, right? And like, let's just say like it never like goes to fruition or whatever.
Yep. It gets averted before it really.
Or even let's say they kill they like capture Count Dooku at the end of episode 2. Like, even say that far, right?
Sure.
Like, do you think the war, the Clone Wars, is what kind of bred Vader to be Vader? Like going through like constant battles, constant aggression, at the same time being a secret husband to a senator, like. Or do you think Anakin would have still fallen without that war in a different way?
I think that he would have. I think that the fact that the Jedi had gone from being peacekeepers to generals definitely helped in the fall to the dark side, because of if you like we've had this conversation before, and there's some like media and like even in the Clone Wars 7th season where people think the Jedi started this war, and there's kind of like this public not necessarily backlash, but like mistrust of the Jedi, like they got their hands in everything. They're the ones that started this war, and they're fighting this war. But of all the Jedi, like Anakin Skywalker is considered a hero, like to everyone.
Yeah.
So he's bred in war. He was bred at the beginnings of a civil war, and he's its greatest champion. But also that prevented him from becoming the Jedi he should be. And even though it's like an awkward conversation when Padme is like packing in episode 3 and he tells her like, I want more. I'm not the Jedi I should be. It's almost like he's recognized like, this is not how Jedi should be. I shouldn't be in a position where I'm fighting battles all the time. Like, that's not what Jedi do. And I think that's something that we kind of lose sight of by the end of the prequels, because it's just like war, fight. And the Clone Wars, the TV series, really shows that kind of descent into darkness, because who's teaching him how to negotiate with people? Even though Obi-Wan is the negotiator, he's too impatient.
Yeah.
He can't negotiate. His way to negotiate
and sometimes
is like
negotiation is failing, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, so I just I don't know, it made me kind of segue
aggressive negotiations.
But the rest of episode 5, obviously the flashback really, like, you kind of sit there for 4 episodes, like, why did we bring back Hayden? Like, like, you gotta,
yes,
it's
wondering
like, for what reason? I mean, like, you don't need him to wear the suit. I mean, yeah, it's cool marketing buzz, sure, it's neat, but without Hayden doing that, like, and I give credit to them not trying to use, like, CGI or, like, de-age him. It's like, yeah,
mm-hmm.
he looks too old for the age he's trying to play,
that time
but
period.
I'm honestly perfectly fine with that. He acted it well. Like, I think we joked about that, seeing him deliver actual good acted lines.
You said this.
Yeah.
You said, look, see that Hayden Christensen can actually act. And it's like, yeah, it's not his fault that he was,
because he has moments in the prequels where he can.
Twisters.
Yeah, he has moments in the prequels where he does do some really good acting. Just it's just the nature of the prequels.
I feel like if it was a different director, if it wasn't George Lucas who directed it, and if you had like a director that was more like an actor's director, that'd be like, okay, letting Ewan and Hayden kind of figure out their lines a little bit, and like, not necessarily improv the thing, but make it sound more natural. But it feels like George is a very like by the book, like this is what's in the script, this is what you say.
Maybe let's
Faster,
not try to make every
intense.
single scene a blue box or green box that they're sitting on, and like it's like it's like, I give him credit, like they were just acting on like blue sets. Like, how do you get in the role on like blue just walls, right? You have to really kind of think about it, like
I love that, and it's been memeified to death, but of Obi-Wan in the speeder in Attack of the Clones, like
yeah.
like, that is to me is like what they do, like when they're like between cuts, like all the time, because like what can you do? There's nothing to like interact with, or like let me like get in the scene, let me like draw some inspiration from the scenery, from the set.
And
but this was good because it was real places for most of it. Or it felt like it, at least. The sets were dressed enough that it didn't feel like.
Well, they're in the volume, for the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. As now I know what it's called, but and what it is. But I mean, like, just also having real people with costumes and not just CGI characters. That's also important too. Episode's 5 big showpiece is the siege. It's not really much of a siege, but they get traced back to, is it Jabim, right? They're following the tracker that Reva put on Lola, Leia's little droid, and that was why we were like, she's dead, when Darth Vader like storms into the Inquisitor's room and just like picks her up, and she's like, tracker, or I don't even know what she says. She's like, I put a tracker on him.
The tracker
on
the ship.
I feel like Vader force chokes people almost to death for disagreeing with him about the nature of the Force, like in A New Hope, where he's like, I find your lack of faith disturbing.
I mean, he's becoming an impatient old guy. He's episode 4, he's about like 50. Yeah, he's 35 right now in this show. Right?
So he gets crankier in his 40s, and then
Vader was only like episode 45 years old in episode 4. Does that add up right?
Sure, that sounds about right.
Man, we're almost
We're
almost the age of Darth Vader in episode 4.
And look at us. Neither one of us have murdered a a group of younglings.
I might have some. Have some robot parts by then, though. It could happen.
That'll be great. Make sure that you get the cool gauntlet for when you replace your hand, though. Don't just leave a metal hand. It looks weird.
Get married with it.
So that's so gross. When she holds his metal hand, I was like, ew. Like, wouldn't you be like, ew, put a glove on, Annie? Like,
or hold the other hand. Like, why did they flip
seriously?
It? Why did they stand the other way?
This robot hand. I love all of you, even your new robot hands. So what was interesting to me, though, in episode 5, and I don't know, tell me what you think, is when Obi-Wan is like looking through the stuff at Jabim, he finds all the Jedi cloaks, and he finds like in the writing, of course, but a bunch of lightsabers. I wondered if any of those, like the one that he lifts in particular, if it was meaningful or if it belonged to somebody. I
don't
really
know.
wanted to know.
I get confused
have
about
the-
lightsabers in the Star Wars universe, to be quite honest. At first, I you watch episode, the original trilogy, and then you read Legend.
Yeah.
It's like lightsabers are such a it's an important thing of the Jedi code. It's like you build it, it's yours, it's your special thing. And then episode 2, it's like here's another. So it's like,
oh my gosh, yeah, they were like throwing them around in episode 2. You're right, and like they show up when. Besides between Anakin losing his, and he's like, "Sorry, Master, like I lost it again."
it get cut in half, broke.
And then it does get cut in half.
It's like,
But
the rest-
later, when all the Jedi show up, and they're like, "Hey, Anakin, Obi-Wan, flew." They're like T-shirt cannons, like just sending lightsabers out to the audience.
Like they make like the lightsaber that Luke gives to like Obi gives to Luke, in episode 4. It's like this was the blade, this was his. It's like
It's his lightsaber.
But I'm not gonna tell you this is like his 10th version of it. Like it's like he's had like 10 of these. Like
In fact, he couldn't keep one together for very long. It was a problem. But this one has meaning because it was the last one. I chopped his hand off to get it. So it's kind of important.
I cleaned
He
it.
went ahead and made another one.
I cleaned it. Don't worry about it. It's been the same. It's been
cleaned it.
I buried it in a hole in the ground for about 10 years.
Oh, it would have been great if Luke picked it up and was like, "Smells like rotten eggs, like sulfur, like from the burning." Someone smell like human hair burning. What is that? It smells like burnt toast.
But
okay.
So I don't think
All
to answer your question. I don't think the lightsaber had any meaning because lightsabers don't have meaning until I don't know.
Oh, A New Hope. Until the Jedi are like basically extinct.
Yeah.
By the way, I have to commend something about the first half of the first 3 episodes. We don't get it really in the second half, but I will compliment that Obi-Wan's character, and every time someone mentions the Jedi, he's like, "I thought they were all extinct." It's like the Jedi themselves are perpetrating this rumor that they're extinct, that they're gone, like they're a memory. It's like I appreciate that, and I kind of hope that was like a subtle like nod, like yeah, the Jedi kind of knew this is what we have to do: go into hiding, pretend like we're all gone, and he's like kind of perpetuating that like myth. Like,
I
the
think
Jedi,
I think
they're
there's
all
other reasons for it though too. Like I mean, you got the one Jedi
self-serving reasons, of
Yeah.
course, but
she's trying to protect Luke and Leia, but yeah, 5th episode. I thought like the whole a few things I want to touch on with the 5th episode, then we'll go to episode 6. The siege was cool, but the whole like Obi-Wan conversation with Reva, because we learned Reva's backstory finally, which I was right about that from our last episode.
well, we kind of guessed that she was a youngling, but there was the nature of what her motivation was, and that she wanted revenge. That was how she knew who Anakin Skywalker was.
And that was the question I had our last review before we got this episode, was that like, how does she know? And like,
exactly.
and Obi-Wan's like he's just speaking my thoughts like through the door.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like
There was a point. It was just like, keep asking her questions, Obi-Wan. Like, this is exactly what we want to know.
But
You're
that
not hunting me. You're hunting him.
I love that though, but it's like Obi-Wan's just like, "Hey, you're too young. You can't do. Why would you? No." He's just like constantly speaking like really fast.
He's doing the deduction that we've done. He's like, she's too young to have known him.
But wait a minute.
You know?
I
You
know.
must have been a youngling. You saw him. You were there. Order 66. You were there that night. It's like they went to the same Pearl Jam concert in the night. He was like, you were there. So we do get the big reveal.
Yeah, but one thing I seen a meme like this when so she's like where were you, Obi-Wan, when my friends were being killed and murdered, and it's like he was your pace. Like he's like, I was riding a lizard.
I was gonna say, well, he was fucking around on a lizard. That's so good that someone actually thought of that. Like, yeah, where were you? He was like, well, I was riding this immense lizard. We were going up a side of a mountain. Oh my gosh.
And my friend Cody shot me.
Yes. And then I had to do a lot of swimming. This is where I got all my good swim tech. While he has been, hit or miss with the Force since the beginning of the series, his swimming has been spot on. He is definitely, even though living on Tatooine, he's managed to keep up that swim stroke pretty good.
Okay.
So still in good shape.
Sure.
Still in good shape. So the end of 4 leads us into, or I'm sorry, the end of 5 is basically the evacuation of Echo Base in Empire Strikes Back, right? Like we have the same kind of countdown and get out and the big gun, open door, and then Reva just like slices open, and then
I know you've said like things about Reva, how like she doesn't seem like the way she like delivers lines, and like it doesn't her like she doesn't fit Star Wars sometimes. You've always kind of like she just feels off,
weird
right?
lines.
But like
sometimes she's overwritten, sometimes she's underwritten.
That one scene where they're like about to do the siege, she's like, "All right, light them up," and I'm like,
"Light up!" Yeah, I love that. So she says, "Fire," and then that was okay, fire. And then she's like, "Light up!" It's like, okay, I believe the next thing you're supposed to say is "fire at will," but all right, light them up. I mean, shouldn't that have been the first line? Light them up. Like, what else do you need? Why just fire once? I don't know. These are stormtroopers she's dealing with too, so she's like, "Oh, idiots! Like, just shoot the big gun at the door." But yep. So they get out. They manage to escape. You do get the Darth Vader, like, I finally have you, getting down there. And we didn't know that there were 2 ships, but there's a decoy ship in front, which, again, he's able to kind of like fool Vader a little bit.
So you think that was Obi-Wan's idea? Like, whose idea was that? Like, make it seem like it's Obi-Wan's idea, but it's like...
I bet that was all... Like, I'm sure it was, what is it? Rogan?
Yeah, Roken.
Roken's idea. Like, I'm sure he's like, well, we've got 2 transports.
They make it seem like it's like Obi-Wan's the one that foiled him.
I bet it is. I bet it... Because the whole, like, the way that they set up to defend themselves and the way that they're escaping was kind of Obi-Wan taking on the General Kenobi role again and, like, trying to ease people's fears and show them how that they were going to.
I like that. Escape. Like him saying, "Look, everyone, we won't survive this, but we just need to buy some time."
Yeah, like trying to realistically look at the situation. See, Obi-Wan inspired the rebellion in a way. He helps like some of their first leaders and followers to get an idea of how to fight the Empire.
Well, yeah, because in episode 4, they're like saying how they're not soldiers. They don't fight. We didn't really touch on that, like because he's like Roken helps him in episode 4, and it's like we're not soldiers. And then Wade dies, and they're like, I guess you're soldiers now. Like, geez, come on, Tala. Like, give her. She's sad.
But like Tala is like one of those people that are like, you need someone like that to start a rebellion. You need someone with strong will. I wanted more Tala. I'm sad that she died, and she dies at the end of episode 5 using a thermal detonator.
And Ned,
the first one in the series.
Ned dies too.
Ned, who's Ned?
The droid, Ned.
Oh, the droid. Yes, and that was a touching moment between him. He gets to turn to her and like. It
was sad.
Thank you for my service.
With you. Sad.
Yeah.
It was good.
Cool character.
It was a good scene. It was well done.
And a good way to go. If you're going to go in a Star Wars, if you're going to go in a Star Wars property, thermal detonator in hand, not bad.
Saying "May the Force be with you" is even better.
Mm-hmm. If you can fit that and a thermal detonator into your death, then you've
with a droid.
It's like a bingo chart of like, a droid protecting you, and you've lost a limb. That's she didn't lose a limb. But for some reason, I'm going to skip a little bit ahead. We're going to take a break in a minute to get to episode 6. Some reason, how did Obi-Wan get her holster? Oh, no, I guess it is episode 5. How did he get her holster? Like where how did that happen? I got to rewatch it because I'm like, wait, why does he have her holster? Did she throw it to him? Press the gun into his hand or something? Oh God, I don't know.
Maybe. No, but she fell down. She was shot and fell down.
Yeah. And her holster should have been That doesn't make any sense. Where did he get that holster?
Unless she dropped
it. They didn't go back through that.
Like, he has it after the door closes. He has it in his hand. So like, and then he's like, I think, and then he gives it to. I thought so, but I have to check now. I don't know. I was just confused by that, but whatever. I'm, I'm sure I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. I'm sure they figured it out. Right?
I mean, for such an important piece that eventually where it ends up, yeah, you would think so. But I guess we can talk about that a little bit more when we talk about episode 6 in just a few seconds. So
but no, we want to talk about Vader's crazy moment, though, right? You want to say that first?
When he's ripping the ship
that
apart.
was cool, right? Like that shot was really cool. Nice. And then
he stops the ship and brings it down, and then just like rips it open.
You got to talk about the Reva fight too.
Oh.
You don't like this for some reason. I like this.
Well, no, because she has been planning and she's a smart woman, and she's been planning, and she's ambitious. She's gotten to the top. She's become the Grand Inquisitor. How does she decide to betray Darth Vader? Just coming up behind him and going, yeah! Like, of course he's going to see that coming. Like, of course she knows he's going to see that coming. Like, I don't understand why she did that.
Well, she should have joined Obi-Wan.
I thought that was a really poor choice for, like, like, if anything, it should have been, like, she tries to sneak up and just, like, turn her lightsaber on, like, while it's, like, behind him, just, like, try to stab him or something. But to fight him, like, actually fight him, I don't think that was...
It would have been better if, like,
vengeance, and she blew it.
What it would have been better is if, like... sorry. When, like...
It's just a stupid idea, I'm sorry. Go on.
I mean, Obi-Wan kind of, like, egged her on, too, and, like, it is kind of weird, I thought, too, like, I guess her plan was, like, okay, so Obi-Wan gives himself up, I guess that was his plan, to then say, you got me captured, I'm going to talk to you a little bit, and they have this little, like, weird secret conversation that the Stormtroopers, I guess, can't hear.
Yeah, apparently. And they just like, I guess it's okay. She's talking with the enemy we're trying to capture. So we'll just be staying here.
And then it's like after that little confrontation, they they walk him in. They bring him halfway through the little entryway, put him on his knees. They have the conversation. It's just like, okay,
she's like,
take him back.
And it's like, why did you bring him back in there? Why not leave? Why not this Jedi fugitive? Why not keep an entire battalion with their guns trained?
Why aren't you guarding him?
Seems like the safest place.
Why aren't you guarding? So my only thought is she wanted Obi-Wan to get.
Well, yeah, she did. She clearly did. But it's surprising to me that no other stormtrooper was like, "Why is he going back in there? Like we're here. We got him. Bring him to the ship. Can we at least put handcuffs on him?"
And then Vader gets there. It's like you think it's well, why aren't you guarding him? No, he's like, I'm going to deal with this myself.
That was so stupid. I'm sorry. If you were Vader and you got there, you would want to see Reva, holding onto a kneeling Obi-Wan, right next to her. That's what you would expect to see if you were Vader. And he gets down there and she's like, yeah, he's inside. And he's like, okay, I'll go get him. It's like,
God,
you're Darth Vader.
He's still...
you bring the Jedi to me. This is it's like talking to I think a subordinate.
But I think Obi-Wan is what's clouding his way of thinking, because it's he's like, oh, he's in there. Well, I'll take care of it. This is my fight. I don't care if you help me. He's so blinded by this Obi-Wan thing. It has really got him not acting the right way, right?
I guess that's the way we'll let them write themselves out of this.
That's all you can do. Idea. So you had the Reva fight, which I personally liked. I thought it was kind of neat seeing him block the lightsabers and just toying with her, and that whole
fight itself was cool.
Yeah,
he wouldn't even grace her with his own lightsaber. Yeah, go on.
Which is fine. I thought it was kind of a neat, different way of handling a Vader fight, just showing how overpowered he really was to Reva. And of course, then you got the best line, I think, at the end of the episode. Hello, Reva. With the great.
Hello. What is it? Third sister. He's got the best entrances in this show. The Grand Inquisitor. Hello, third sister.
Yeah, I don't understand how stabs to the chest don't kill people. We talked this off the air, right?
And she was stabbed in the chest. They match cut, her as a child and her, in the present, getting stabbed in the same spot. Wouldn't all her child organs be cauterized and destroyed? Somehow she survives, and then does it again, and somehow she survives that too. Is it the Force? Is she using the Force?
Well, the only
Justin?
thing I think
Is
they
that
try to write themselves an explanation by saying the Grand Inquisitor says like
revenge
revenge,
is a yeah
a great way to
great
keep
motivation.
great motivation to keep someone alive or something, which I guess is
Hmm.
his reason for still being alive. But they
I
act like
guess.
it's like he was like that was supposed to happen. So he just kind of waltzes in. It's like do do do
Well,
like
he's so like prim and proper and funny. Like
oh
I
yeah,
love that guy.
he's good
I
in
think
Rebels
it's
too.
just
He's good in the character himself is good in Rebels.
yes. And I
But
think the guy who portrayed him, I know he doesn't have a thin head
yeah,
like everybody wanted, but
Jesus.
he's still portrayed by a human being, which is cool.
Everything is characterized in Rebels weird because it's based on the original
Stylized.
McQuarrie art. That's why.
Oh, I didn't know that, but that
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense, especially the Darth Vader design, the
yeah.
mask
So
and
like the one purple creature, right? That's with him. The
Lafont,
Zed. Yeah, I always forget the alien name.
Lasat or
Yeah.
Lasat,
So
I think
that like
Lasat or
that is
Lafont. Yeah.
designed off of the original model for a Wookiee. So if you look at the
Oh,
original like
cool.
drawing of
Yeah.
like Luke and R2D2 and all that stuff, that's based on that. So
That was supposed to be what Chewie would look like. Oh, Lasat, I
yeah,
think.
that's Zeb is his
I
character.
only know that because we have the Star Wars ABC book, and
Oh,
Zeb is Z. So I know all about Zeb,
he's good.
or at least the name of his species.
Um,
I would not have known otherwise. But
so then at the end
yes,
of 5, we get the little hint of like Raven knows where Luke is,
mhm.
and then
Finds the
Obi kind
communicator.
of is stuck on a ship that's about to the hyperdrive.
But
Man, all these
yeah, but they're
broken
being chased
hyperdrives.
by a Star Destroyer.
Yeah,
Which Star Destroyer is this? Which this is this Vader ship? This isn't like the
I mean I don't know.
it's not the Executor.
No, he
It's a
doesn't get that.
smaller.
He doesn't get that until Empire.
So which ship is this? The
I mean, I
Destroyer? I
it's
don't
just
know. I forgot what the name of the
it's
ship.
just a Star Destroyer. I don't know the name of this
Okay.
one. I don't know if it's the same one he has in A New Hope. It looks like the one from New Hope,
Hmm.
right?
Same
But
one that he's following. Yep.
he could have just got another one. I
Painted.
guess I'm sure there's some story where it blows up and he gets a new one. I mean, it's like
Well, if sequels have taught me anything, they're like you can just conjure up Star Destroyers like nothing. So he's got a dozen of them in the
yeah,
in the
they're like
wings
it's like a
waiting.
necromancer. The Emperor was a necromancer of Star Destroyers.
A Star Destroyer answer. Okay. Well, let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about episode 6, and we'll see about how this story ends.
And we're back. I know it's quick, but we're back.
Mhm.
Um, so this is part you've been
So
excited
let's.
to talk about, right? You've been
Well,
waiting.
yeah, because it was a pretty good
We've talked about
episode.
episode 4 and 5 a
Pretty good
lot
stuff.
off air, and we haven't really talked about 6 that much. So this is kind of exciting.
New. This is all new. So I'm glad we're actually going to get all of our initial thoughts here together. Because like last night when we were streaming Resident Evil, afterwards we had like a 45-minute conversation, which we were like, why didn't we just record this? Like this was we
Yeah.
just had like a really good. Uh, so let's talk this episode. I'm actually blanking on how it began,
So
but I
first
mean
off,
like
first to start this, we're going to talk about our bet that you lost. You did not win your bet.
Tarkin did not show up in any or was mentioned in
He
any
wasn't even
way, shape,
referenced.
or form.
Tarkin doesn't even
Yeah.
exist in this show.
My gosh,
My,
jeez. All right. Your victory is now complete.
So the first thing I'll start off with, because we don't have to go through this in order, like, obviously the bulk of this episode, I was surprised, is the Vader fight and Obi fight. Obviously that's what happens here, because, to start off,
Yes.
Obi's like, okay, well, I'm just going to fly away and just
Yep.
pull him that way and just kind of, play to Vader's weakness, which is it was Obi-Wan,
And the
so...
Inquisitor there, the Grand Inquisitor says like the most obvious thing is like, my lord, if we should not let, this ship of potential, possibly the Rebel Alliance, future Rebel Alliance, get away for, one measly Jedi. And he's like, it's not just any Jedi. And the whole Star Destroyer you see just like turning
Yep.
and just focusing on that. By the way, episode starts, that Star Destroyer was bombarding their ship, the first thing I said was, "They're not going to get out of here." Like
Yeah.
it's like the Star Destroyer in this
Wow.
tiny junky
How are
ship.
they? How are they
You're like,
missing? How
how
are
did
they
they get
missing it?
anything done?
How are they missing? That's what I want to know. I was like,
Yes, how like it's going like this, Justin. Don't you see? It's going like this. It's hard. It's really hard to hit. And they're like increased firepower, and it's like, blah, 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 blah.
it's
And
like
still they're not getting any shots. It's like one shot hits them, and they're like, ooh, we got rocked a little bit.
well, they put the rear shields on full
Oh,
power.
all the shields to the rear. Yeah, you know how well that works.
It's like
That always works for like 2 seconds in a Star Trek episode. It's like, shields are down.
I said across their nose, not up it. Sorry, sir, it's an asshole. Sir, it's an asshole.
Sorry, sir. I'm surrounded by assholes.
That's why. That's the answer right there. That's why they can't hit the shit.
Really are. I forget that it's also the stormtroopers on the ground are also the same people working.
Yeah,
The Star
they have double shifts. They just.
Jeepers. And Vader's like, come on, just hit it.
Oh, just use the
like,
force, damn it! Come on, it's so easy. I can do this.
Right there. He could have just like, I mean, he crumpled a part of the ship earlier. Can't he just like crumple it a little bit from where he's standing?
Which makes me why
anyway,
didn't he crumple the other ship after he gets the first ship? I don't know. I don't get that. But, he's
right?
tired.
Because a real Sith would be like, I'm gonna have both of these things.
Yeah.
You know, like if it was Palpatine, he'd been like, that ship's crushed. That got away, and I'm still gonna.
I mean, Palpatine was able to electrify the entire fleet, but that's because
he can do that.
That's because he has the dyad of the Force.
Yeah, the power of
Vader can't because he's got metal hands. He can't do the electrical thing. So.
No, he can't. Electricity, no good, and he can't go swimming either. So Obi-Wan's got him beat on a couple fronts. Powerful swimmer, that Obi-Wan Kenobi.
But yeah, so we got the really cool. Isn't the beginning Reva and Tatooine like looking for Owen? Right? Isn't that the beginning?
Yes, you're right. She comes. She
in a very completely different getup. Like she looks like random. Like I don't know.
It looks like Darth Maul. Like she's got like a big, thick Episode 1 Darth Maul robe and hood. And she just goes to the canteen and is just like, do you know someone named Owen? And you think the guy is going to talk, but apparently he doesn't. And he goes and he warns Owen. And to my surprise, Beru is apparently Sarah Connor in Star Wars. Because she just is like, all right, I'll get the guns.
I can see that. Based
a little bit I can see that, but not so much like the Owen looking at her like, who did I marry?
Yeah, but look at episode 4. She's like gets on Owen's case in episode 4, like briefly, like she's like, come on, Owen, get your act together. Like,
when did she tell Owen, get your act together?
Well, no, when after Luke gets after Luke argues with him, and like storms out of the dinner table, Owen's like, you can't keep him here, Owen. You can't keep him forever. He's too much like his father.
That's what I'm afraid of. I did not, it makes sense because they're frontier living, really. And, Owen mentions the Tuskens, like, the Tuskens are coming.
That's how they get around Luke not knowing what's going on, right?
Yep.
But that's not the,
at the same time, I don't
highlight.
think Beru is going picking mushrooms off of the evaporators in the morning and fighting off Tuskens like Shmi. You know what I mean? Like it was weird.
Well, I was maybe that toughened her up.
Weird things I was like,
Maybe seeing the death of Anakin's mother, like it's like, man, I got to learn to lose a gun. You know, it's like I don't want to be enslaved by Tusken Raiders.
That's true. They could be like, yeah, remember that time? Remember that time when that Jedi just showed up with that silver ship and that woman?
That's ridiculous. I guess that he's the maker of our droid. I don't know. Like he just took our droid. Like it's weird. Like,
oh yeah, like what was He's just like, this is mine. This is mine now. Like who's gonna argue with him? He's coming. He's got Tusken Raider blood and horns all over him after getting back. And he's like, how does take a shower?
And then of course Owen doesn't recognize C-3PO in episode 4 because he's gold. He's not silver. So
that's true. And he doesn't like droids. It seems.
Yeah.
In general. But Reva is for some reason hunting Luke. Why?
What you want you want an actual answer? Do you want my like?
Here I am, Justin. And she says, for justice.
Yeah, that's the name of her friend from the Jedi Temple. Her name is Justice.
Oh, Justice Coon. Justice Plo Koon. Like,
It's for the teenage store that you find in the mall. Justice.
it's right next to the Deb and
Yeah.
the Delia's outlet.
But
Uh,
like yeah, I think her like it's tough. Reva's a tough.
I like her character, dude. I
Yeah,
like her character.
I know.
Like
I know.
said, she's overwritten in some parts, and in other parts, she's underwritten. It's like, what the hell is her motivation?
I don't think they
If
handled that. I
she's
think
um,
I can I yeah. Let me try to answer your question. I know you're trying
go
to
for it.
you're
Oh,
trying to get
why
angry.
is she trying to kill Luke Skywalker?
What we're trying to convey is somehow she put two and two together that Luke was Anakin's son. I don't know where she got that math or equation.
That's the only way it works.
Yeah, because
Right?
she
That's
does
the
make
only
a
way it
comment.
works.
She's like, I'm gonna get my revenge, like when she's about to kill Luke before she stops herself. But like, that's all I can think of. She's like, obviously, she gets the message and Bale's on there. Did you find my daughter yet? She knows that Leia's Bale's daughter. Then Bale's like, well, I'm gonna watch the other boy. So obviously, she's like,
Do you
well,
think that she saw that whole video though? It seems like it's damaged, and she only haven't heard from you,
yeah, but
Tatooine.
she just pieced it together because she already knew that Leia was Bale's daughter. And she's like, well, why is he so worried about why is he so worried about this other boy Tatooine too? Like, I think she just somehow pieced it together. I don't know why. That's
Yeah, that's what's missing. Is like, what's her thought process as to why? She might have one. She might have like a logic to it, but it's not conveyed to us. Like, we're kind of left in the dark as to why she decides.
the
If
only
she
thing
wants to
you
go,
could I mean you could easily write it off of like she had some
if
she well I'm gonna get my
go
hand
ahead,
up
go ahead.
because you get too
I'm
excited
sorry,
sometimes. But
sorry,
like
go ahead.
in the first episode, like obviously we always forget, and this is something the downside about live action is they don't do this a good. They don't never do this good about how you sense things in the Force. You have understanding in the Force. So like when she meets Owen for the first time, why do you think she picks him to talk to? Because she sensed something about him that was a speaking of the Force or the use of the Force, or but they don't show that, right? They don't convey that. Like that's just me saying she just is like piecing things together. She met Owen before. She's starting to connect the dots. The Force is working for her. I don't know. Like, that's the only math equation I can make of is that you use the Force. She has the dark side. She understands this piece, this piece, this piece. She's met all the pieces, and the Force is just kind of connecting the dots for her. That's the only thing I can think of, and maybe that's the only direction she has because she's also on revenge and she's like, damn that Owen dude, I'm just gonna mess with his kid because I can't beat Bader. So I mean, like, I go after that guy. I don't know.
What might have, it's they do convey things when the Force is being used. Like Ewan McGregor, kind of sensing her past when they talk at the door,
Sure.
or even when she's doing the thing with Owen. It's not necessarily that she senses a Force user; it's that she senses he's hiding something.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
mean.
that's um, like you really did the mental gymnastics, and they are gymnastics to get to Reva wanting to kill Luke. What would have made more sense to me is if she did think like, oh, this is Luke's, or this is Anakin Skywalker's son, or close to Darth Vader in some way. If she wanted to really get revenge on him or get justice, she should be holding him captive and like trying to draw him in, trying to get her revenge in some way, not killing him. It didn't make any sense because it's like, okay, if this is the child of Darth Vader, then he's on a backwater planet and Darth Vader doesn't know about him. So what would killing him? How would that bring her justice in any way? It would
It's
only bring
because
it to her,
I don't think
I guess.
because she's being someone that she's truly isn't. I mean, she obviously was.
Sure, hesitates and is kind of not necessarily redeemed, but a little bit because she chooses not to do it, and in that way, Obi-Wan kind of like commends her. It's like, you chose not to. You're better than him because you
Like
could get past it,
like you
and he could.
notice with Riva, right? Like she is only violent around the other Inquisitors. Like with Leia, she was kind of violent, but she's sort of like not really that mean. Like I don't feel like she I think she there's a it's not written well. I'm just saying like there is this kind of weird like I think she doesn't really truly want to be this evil person. She's only doing it to get this revenge she thinks she needs, but then when she goes to do the act to a child, it snaps her out of it. But like I think it's the best way they could have handled it with the way the story had gone. Like I can't think of a better ending for her character, to be quite honest. Like it could have been there could have been a better middle
Yeah,
part.
I could think of. I don't mind her ending. I think it's fine that she's. I liked you had mentioned that she could be set up as kind of like an Asajj Ventress type character, or like even like an Ahsoka type character. Like, and maybe that's somebody that she'll cross paths with.
Yeah.
Just like kind of independent Force users, not Jedi, not Sith, kind of trying to find their own way. I like that. I like that a lot, and I just felt like how she got to that point was just contrived. Like
It was
I don't know
rushed.
why I don't know why they needed to bring it to Luke to do that, other than to show how Owen and Beru are like secret commandos.
I
But
mean, they do the best they can. I guess they fail, but
they are enough, as Beru says.
yeah.
But
I like that though. I like seeing Owen and Brew get some. But for some reason, they can't handle a few They can't handle a few stormtroopers in episode 4.
and I yeah, oh yeah, right. And it's like the next time they come, they'll be bringing flamethrowers. It's like Jesus. They survived their first encounter with an Imperial somebody, but not the
but
second time.
that's the only way I can piece it together. I feel like maybe with a like an overall rewatch, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can see where maybe she says certain things that like help piece everything together. But there's just something missing in the Riva story that's like I feel like there's like just one piece. If you just plug it in there, like oh,
If you
that makes
told me,
sense.
if you told me there was a Riva book or comic coming out, then I'd say, okay, we'll probably get
Or
that
just like
little
her
bit
just
of.
sitting in the ship. Like all you really need to do is like her sitting in the ship, like looking at the recording again, maybe in the beginning of the episode. It's like I get it now. And if you just say that, it's like, oh, okay.
Like if you showed like her and then like a flash of Leia and then of Luke and her like, like she understands. But how can you have somebody that lives out in the world that's not Obi-Wan or Owen and Beru that knows that Darth Vader fathered children? That father, like he could be Luke's father. Like she already knows what everybody doesn't by episode 5. She knows.
Unless she doesn't know, and that's the thing that they did
Well, she
bad.
doesn't know,
Yeah,
and then you've got a problem because
I don't
there's
understand the reason
really
for
no
her.
reason
Yeah,
for her chasing.
unless she's getting revenge against Obi-Wan for like
All
he
right,
was. I don't. Yeah, I gotta rewatch
let's
it.
let's put that aside and
Yeah,
let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about what was good with this episode, and that was
sorry.
how Obi-Wan got his groove back. The subtitle of this show,
Sure.
seeing him actually, um, this is probably the most powerful he's ever been. Right? I mean, I've never seen him do like throw rocks in such a way.
I'm trying to think if he
But
ever was that powerful in the Clone Wars show, but I mean, he did some really cool stuff in the Clone Wars show, but not this. This definitely looked really good. I can't think of anything else.
I love how the fight starts with him saying like, "I will do what I must." A
He
callback.
does the point right. Yeah.
He does his move, and that it was good to see that. It was very much like he knows how to win this fight. He's got the forces on his side. It's not just brute strength that's going to do it, but it's also going to be like part of it is his prowess in the force, and he really does fight Darth Vader to a disadvantage. Like Darth Vader cannot keep up with him the way that he is. Like he can use the force, but Obi-Wan is relentless, and it was cool to watch like a Jedi at his like with power fighting Darth Vader.
Yeah, like it was pretty. like I like the flow of the fight. You know, even like the Reva stuff like happening to break it up. I think that you kind of need that sometimes. Like you can't just constantly. If you just watch the fight like from beginning to end, I did like the little segues they did because the Reva stuff.
The whole point of that might be the whole point of the Reva stuff was just to break up the Obi-Wan fight.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like obviously that's happening. Reva stuff I feel like it's happening kind of after the Vader fight too, because it's like he shows up right after. It's like, you know, it's like there's no way he'd like I'm getting my ship and I'm gonna go stop Luke now because that's happening at the same time. No, it's like that's like happening in the future. But anyways, like I did like the break, you know, the little stalls between each fight. It gave a lot of time for them to have conversation, which really you didn't get a lot of You didn't get too much conversation in their last fight, right? I mean, well, I'm not saying episode 3. I'm saying episode 3, like the movie, like that. You had some conversation, but it was really just like fight. Here's one line. Fight. Here's one line, and then the end.
Yeah. 6 lines. We're done.
But like here, it's like you got a lot of like, I don't know, just a lot of the relationship is really like kind of portrayed in the fight. Like some of the lines they do, they do little throwbacks, like he said Obi-Wan says. But I don't know, it's just hearing Darth Vader and Obi-Wan have a conversation, like and Obi-Wan ready to fight versus episode 3, which he was like scared of his mind, and they don't really talk. You know, Vader just kind of toys with them. Mm-hmm. I meant like part 3, not episode 3.
Yes.
But yeah, like visually it's great. Like I did like that shot when Vader's walking up to him and you got the rocks on the left and you got the moon in the background. That was really neat.
Nice shot.
You know, I don't know why they have to kind of put these fights in the dark though. Like I get like with lightsabers it's cool, but I still want to see a little bit more.
I guess. You can see it at the light of day. Oh, dark deeds, I guess.
But I guess we got our like really cool fight in the light with episode 5 and Anakin and Obi.
Yeah,
prequel.
I have a feeling that Darth Vader doesn't look as good fighting in the light. Just the character, the guy.
I guess not.
And you don't have, I think it was David Prowse is the guy who was originally Darth Vader.
Yeah, David Prowse was him.
He was like a bodybuilder and like, all around tough looking dude and exuded like a certain presence. It's different. It's different now. It's not the same, but I mean, that's the story.
Well, they have 3 people playing him.
But I mean, you do get this.
Do you hear that? What I said? You have 3 people playing him.
Yeah. It's hard to convey like one kind of feel from 3 different people. Even though we were used to most people using a stunt double, but still. What's really cool about this fight is, the conversation. Like, the fight itself is cool. You get to see Obi-Wan really. You get the Spider-Man moment, too, for Obi-Wan holding the rocks, and then getting to be like, no, I'm not done.
Yeah.
Also, didn't you... I was just waiting for when Darth Vader does, like, the ground pound thing, and,
oh my God.
Obi-Wan falls.
Seriously.
Were you not just waiting for him to go, who's got the high ground now?
I think everyone's wants him. I feel like they lingered on that shot for that reason. But like,
just enough.
Honestly, like, I'd rather him not say it. Like,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like I didn't. If he says it, it's like come on, that's kind of like
that is too on the nose. It's like
but like if Vader doesn't need to say it, he doesn't need to copy his master. But like in your head, you copying it for him. That is perfectly fine. you get it, right?
He said the line in my head because I was like, "Who's got the high ground now?" I'm pretty sure I just mumbled it. And then when Obi-Wan gets to break free, and of course, again copying not the video game, but now Rebels.
Yep.
Getting to chop off a piece of his mask.
The other side.
To see what's in. Yeah, the other side. It's true. And
so I like this. It's like a weird. So I wanted to talk about this whole. You said copying Rebels, and we've copied Jedi Fallen Order, but I wanted to wait for this part of the conversation. I kind of like this. It's kind of different the way Star Wars is adapting things. Like you have like with movies, you adapt a book or you adapt a comic book, right? Here, they're not really adapting a story. They're just saying, you know, that thing in that show you liked that no one else has watched except for like these people over here. Well, we're going to give you the live action version of that, but in a different story.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of like, it's a weird way of adapting something, right? Because we're never going to really show you that scene that you loved with Ahsoka and Vader in Rebels. You're never going to see that again. That's canon. That's what happened. You're never going to get a live action version of that scene. But here's a live action version with him fighting Obi-Wan where the same thing happens.
Yep.
You know, so I'm okay with that way of adapting some of these like stories to get that visual live action. But at the same time, I hope they don't overdo it so much that it's like diminishes those things too. Like it's this weird balance, right? You know, it's like that moment in Rebels was really awesome, and that almost like you haven't watched Rebels, so it's like that to me when I saw it, I'm like, this is cool, but at the same time, it's like I don't think it could have been as cool if I didn't watch Rebels because I've seen this before, I've seen this happen before. It wasn't as like unique to me. Like I've seen the whole like Vader with his head cut off, and you got Anakin speaking and Vader speaking at the same time. I've seen that before. I've had that moment. Does that make sense?
Yes, I've watched a good deal of Rebels actually, and that particular episode I remember quite fondly, and it's such a cool sequence too because you get to see it's Vader. You can see Anakin's face, and it's more of Clone Wars Anakin in there, and it's not necessarily as old and like scar tissued. Like you can still see like,
which is weird because
his voice is still kind of Anakin modulating with Vader, and there's a moment of like Ahsoka reaching out to him, like he could come back.
Yeah,
you know, he could come back if he wanted to. But this scene, this one is that scene almost precisely, but a little bit more impactful because after it, and first of all, like Obi-Wan is fighting super aggressively, like pointing the lightsaber at him.
Yeah.
You know, all of those poses, he's like put all the aggression right back onto him. Like, see if you can handle it, which is a cool way to fight Darth Vader. Never really thought like, because most of the time people fight on the defense. Who goes on the offensive against Darth Vader like that, you know? But Obi-Wan's conversation with Anakin is what's really, really great to hear and great to see because it makes a lot more sense. Kind of like sets up both of these characters nicely for episode 4, A New Hope.
Yes.
When, you know, he says, he's like, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker. I did.
Yeah.
Like that was, I like rewound it and watched that part a couple times just because I wanted to.
That's my other thing I want to add to why this scene still worked for me though, because like seeing the face is not what sold me, but the dialogue is what sold me. Like even in seeing Ewan McGregor's emotion during that too, right? Like that was, you know, like you got the whole like scene with him. I loved you. You know, all that stuff. You were my brother to me. This is like, I think truly hitting home. I'm like, this is who you become. My God, like you know.
Yeah, and like, this is it. Like this was like you're gone, you're gone. Like that's to Obi-Wan. He's calling him Anakin, and the moment he calls him Darth, it's almost like an insult. Yeah. You know, he won't call him Darth Vader. He's just like, all right, Darth. You know, I get this little bit of like derision in there. He's like, this is what you chose, and if Anakin really is that, all right, so be it.
But when he here's the thing too, I thought I won our bet in that moment for a brief second because it's like you didn't kill Anakin. And I'm like, oh, and it's like I did. I'm like, damn it.
So you didn't win. Nobody won. Dio stays here.
But no, like that moment was great. To be honest, like you said, the aggressiveness of like Obi-Wan, like that scene. We were watching the fight right before the episode, like right before we recorded, and just the shot of like Obi-Wan picking all those rocks up. Like, you know, I've seen floating rocks for, you know, many scenes in Star Wars, and it's got to be probably my favorite one, right? Like that's
right, and just pummeling him with it.
It's like no one else does that. Vader does that all the time. He's like, here, I'm going to throw things at you, and you're never going to stop it. Obi-Wan, like,
and it's Obi-Wan fighting like Vader. You know, he's like, all right, let's see if you can take your own medicine. He really does give him a master class in fighting, And this is why I feel like the line, when I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master, still resonates
So yeah,
because this is where he was like, yeah, he still is the master. He still is. He's
yep,
still proving him. Not able to. He can't defeat Obi-Wan,
yeah, because he
and
knows all of
Obi-Wan.
his flaws. Like I think I was listening to a different reaction podcast that Kind of Funny was doing on this, and somebody made a comment which I thought was interesting. It's like Obi-Wan knows Vader more than anyone else. Like Ahsoka
Mhm.
too, like who kind of almost has a similar sort of experience in the fight, right? But like
Yep.
they know all of his flaw. He knows all of his flaws.
All his weaknesses.
Yeah, all his weaknesses. He knows what that mask is doing for him. He knows what that armor is doing for him. No one else does. Like everyone else sees Vader is like, oh crap, I can't. That's why they're so defensive. They have no idea where to attack. Like
He's imposing, scary, yeah, but they're like, oh no, yeah, which is really fun. I mean, that was a really cool part, like Ewan McGregor doing like the little like elbow jab into his little box,
yeah,
and it's like,
yeah.
because he was not afraid to get close to Vader and fight
That's
him
that's a Qui Gon
hand to man.
move. It's a Qui Gon move right
Yeah, it
there.
really is. It really
Qui
is.
Gon
There's
move.
this mix, and which is why I think we finally get Liam Neeson in the end there. Showing up like we knew he would, just 2 seconds before the end to just say like something fun.
I
Be
thought that
like,
was a
oh,
good way to bring him in. I'm glad we got to see him. That made it
dude,
work.
that last sequence is like that stupid poem about. Now I know this is just hear me out here, please. So you ever hear that? You ever see that footsteps poem where it's like, there was my set of footprints and then God's set of footprints next to me in the beach. And
Mm-hmm.
then during life and all my trials and tribulations, there was only one set of footprints, and it was like God had abandoned me. And then he's like, "My child, that was the time that I carried you." Do you know what I'm talking about? This
No,
super cheesy, schlocky, like,
no, I don't
out,
know.
like,
I
you
don't
know.
know. I mean,
But that's exactly what Qui-Gon like. If somebody's heard this or seen this, you'll understand what I'm using. They like print this poem on blankets, on throw blankets, and it'll be at
okay.
your mom. But it's what Qui-Gon did at the end. He was like, "I was here the whole time. I was watching you, waiting for you, my son, just waiting for you to finally open your eyes and see."
Yeah. Well, that's a
Wait.
lot. Took you long enough. I liked how Liam Neeson looked in that shot. That was good. Good stuff.
Yeah, his voice is a little scratchier, but hey, he's been dead. He got a lightsaber wound to the chest,
Yeah.
like Reva did twice, and he died instantly. So
Didn't have that.
Qui-Gon could.
Didn't have that dark
But
side. Yeah, but then the person that killed him got cut in half, and he's fine.
this is also true. Of all the people, like Qui-Gon should have been, they would have been like, "Oh no, that's fine. Let me just force heal you, like Rey does. Just heal your
Yeah.
gaping wound."
Obi-Wan wasn't good enough for that. I guess I don't know. Didn't
No.
get there fast enough. But
I'm
we didn't just get Qui-Gon though. We got some Ian McDiarmid. Got some Emperor Palpatine.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Is this, hunt for your old master clouding your judgment?
I like
It
that
was
scene.
good.
It
I
was
thought we would
it,
get a little bit of him. That
yeah.
was good.
That was a good
Just
scene. It did make me think of like your Saturday morning cartoon villain though. It's like I've been foiled again. He's sitting in his throne chair like just like like mad.
you don't get to see him sit in the throne any other time, really. Because even in Rogue One, when he's in there, he's just like he just shows up and just walks around. He doesn't actually sit
Yeah,
anywhere.
he was sitting in I
But
think in an earlier episode he was in that throne like when you first see him. But like yeah, him Vader sitting on the throne is weird. It's just like a weird shot to me. I don't know
it
why.
is.
It's like I'm just so used to him standing. It's like I don't really see him sit too much, right?
He doesn't look as imposing when he's sitting down. He looks uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's what he looks.
But
How do
then,
I sit with this thing?
of course, you have the moment with Leia and Obi-Wan, which I thought was really good send off. I think again Leia's actress is really good. Like she looked good. Like she looked sad. Like I think she did a good job. The
She's
dialogue
great.
was good. The references to Padme and Anakin without telling who they were and I
I
just
like
thought
that.
it was good, really good.
Yeah. No, there was done well, and I appreciate. I also liked like kind of like Bale's last words with Obi-Wan, like, if I ever need you again, he's like, I'm only a call away, or
Yep.
like,
Hopefully that
we
needs
don't
to
need
happen.
to. But, yep. But at the end of the series, we do get kind of like a teaser because he does go to Owen and Beru, and Luke is there. He brings the toy with him,
You're
the
excited. I'm sure you're
Skyhopper.
excited about that because you thought
Yep.
that was going to happen.
I was like, this is it. This is how you start. This is how the Death Star gets destroyed. Right here is Obi-Wan giving him the
Yeah.
toy. But it was actually so sweet. I did not expect it that Owen was like, "Do you want to meet him?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh," I'm like, that's like the nicest thing he could have done. That was what I had predicted, was like Owen would soften on Obi-Wan just a
Sure.
bit. That's how
Sure.
you get the Skyhopper back. But that's, I mean, I'm pretty sure anybody could have seen that coming.
He's still like he's like kind of wariness with Obi-Wan, obviously, but I like how he's just like, you know what, you're not a bad person. Here, you
No,
can say hi. But like, and like obviously Luke knows Ben Kenobi because he's heard the name. He's obviously now met the person, and he's like, oh, that crazy guy that visited
a
my dad's.
legend.
He visited my dad's
Mhm.
farm once. He gave me this toy. I don't even, it's like that random dude that you just remember for
But
some reason.
I wonder if he'll show up again. Like, we don't obviously know exactly what will happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if like he dropped in every once in a while
Oh
and just
yeah,
like
I mean it's
checked
like
on him.
that random neighbor
Not
that's
like
kind of
watching
crazy,
him through the
right?
binoculars,
Yeah.
all day and all night. But I do like how, because you showed me the comic book cover for the next like Star Wars
Well, that's an
comic.
old one. They just referenced the
Oh,
outfit based on that.
oh, I thought that was like forthcoming. I was like,
No,
oh, get ready for the adventures of Obi-Wan
no, I think
now, because
that's an
now,
older one that they like they again. I love how they. It's so hard to keep good continuity with the Star Wars universe, but like I like how they try like their
they do.
hardest, right? Um, So I thought that was kind of neat. But yeah, I like his new getup with the goggles and the. He looks so fresh. Like
Yep. He's not as dusty and dirty as he was. He's not hiding anymore.
he's
He's
not
just going to be
he's
himself.
not working at the crate dragon. I wonder if he got
No,
fired because he left. He just gave up.
I like how that dude, the asshole who was like the overseer, got tossed like 30 yards by Riva. That was a
Best
nice
thing I
little
Riva
joke.
did in the whole show, right there.
It really is.
Um, Overall,
Uh,
I love the show. It's my favorite. It's my favorite Star Wars. I mean, it's my favorite Disney Plus show for sure. Um,
yeah, I would put it up there. Yeah, it's got a lot of good things going on. It's got its flaws, but like all properties, all
like all of
series.
Star Wars, it has its
Yeah.
flaws.
I
You know,
I would like the Snyder cut version of this. Not, well, actually, no, I wouldn't want Zack Snyder anywhere near this. What I would want though is, I like, just a shorten this to like 3 or 4 episodes. You know, just cut some of that anime filler out a little bit, just a little
oh, I
bit.
love my anime filler. Come
I
on.
know you're like used to it. I'm not, man. I want content.
I got so much filler. Man, I read 20 books of the Yuuzhan Vong invasion. Come on, I can handle 6 episodes of Obi-Wan.
Yes, you have the endurance for that. I do not. You've read all that Wheel of Time too.
I didn't read all of it,
Whew. Yes. All right.
but no,
Well,
it's
Justin,
great.
we can.
Do you think? No, I have one more question before we go. Do
Oh,
you
okay.
think
Please do.
how would you want an Obi-Wan season 2 to be? Do you want it to see similar tone? What would you want it to? Could you want any continuation? Would you want more Hayden? Like somehow? Like would you want more flashbacks?
No, I don't want. I don't want it. I got it. I got it, Justin. We got it. What we asked for, like seeing more of them together, we got it.
But I want
And
more.
you're not the Jedi you should be then. Uh, but I'm telling you now,
We didn't get
they
a
do
Padme
they do a
flashback.
season
We didn't
two.
get a
It's not
Padme.
gonna.
She's the only one that didn't show
It's
up.
fine. We don't need it. We don't need these things. What we need is like a good story that's like that enriches the movies and not takes away from them and makes us like bite our fingernails. Like, Luke can't see a red lightsaber because the first one he sees is in A New Hope. So how are they going to do Riva chasing him?
Yeah, I know.
You
There
know,
were a lot of moments of that. Like,
conveniently turns it off and then turns it on when he's unconscious, and it's like, Why put themselves through this? No, I don't think there'll be another one, and I hope they don't. I really don't. And it's not that I didn't like what they did in a lot of it. It's just
It's the only reason I
like
asked that question because Ewan and Hayden have both said they would definitely do it again if they were asked to, and they think there's more stories. There's more stories to be told. Because what do you do for 10 years? He doesn't sit around.
just let it go. Let it go. Let it be. Why do we have to explore every minute of Star Wars? Do we really need to know what happened between this and this? Like, we already got this big chunk of story.
We'll let it breathe.
Now we're gonna get
5 years from now, you'll watch it. Like, well, that was fun.
And that's really what it was. This was fun. This was not like heavy or
Yeah.
like it changed the Star Wars, how you tell a Star Wars story. It was good. It was fine. It was fun.
I would be
I
good
enjoyed
with
a lot of
this being the end of it. Honestly, the fact that we got this, like we said, we've mentioned that
Exactly.
before. Like we're way too privileged. We were like back in the day, like, oh, we're only gonna get 3 movies of Star Wars. Okay, that's all. That's good.
We were happy with it. All the comics and fan art, we were happy with it. We're happy. All those books, all those random, what was it, Bantam books? Was it Bantam? Or
Bantam.
Del Rey? Was it Bantam?
Del Rey, Del Rey and Bantam were both the publishers.
Oh, Del Rey's the parent company. Bantam was the actual publisher. We got what we asked for and then some. So I'm thankful that we got something that you can look back on and not be embarrassed by. It was good. They did it well.
Yeah.
Now let it die. Let it be. Kill the past, Justin.
Do you think we'll have one show?
That's a preview for what's coming.
We have an Ahsoka show coming up. Do you think they'll have Hayden show up as a flashback in there? Or it probably doesn't work with the story, right?
Weird.
Yeah, because it's more about Thrawn and stuff. I don't think they need that.
No, they don't need to go down that road.
They'd have to cast a 14-year-old, I guess, to do a flashback. Because she was like 15 or 16 in the show. So, okay.
Right.
Sorry. I guess we can end it there. I'm sorry. I could ask a million questions because, I love talking about this stuff.
I asked you one simple one. What was Reva's motivation? And it was like, well... Why don't you take a seat? Let's talk this through.
Oh, that's the only way you can, because that's you see, why Obi-Wan was riding on a lizard. I was laying with dead bodies of my friends. That's all the motivation I need. Nothing else makes sense.
Oh, they got to be careful because this is like Battlefield Earth style storytelling. If they keep going this way,
maybe that's what happens when you get stabbed in the chest twice. You don't know. You've never been through that. Maybe it just affects
you don't know what the hell you're doing. You have no thoracic cavity anymore. She literally does not have a heart or liver. I like that she was hurt though when she was fighting. She wasn't just like, "I'm gonna go and whip some ass." She was like. Stabbed again.
I mean, she could have just at least camped out for a little while. Why was he in such a rush? Like, what? It's like, come on. It's like
she is the exception to the rule. I gotta tell you, arguably, the 7th sister is that Trilla, the 7th sister.
No, she's second.
Second sister. Trilla is a way better Inquisitor than Reva.
Yes. Well, because Trilla actually was an Inquisitor, not.
Why then Trilla is found to have, for a moment faltered. He gets immediately killed by Darth Vader, but Reva gets stabbed, we'll leave you for dead, Inquisitor. The Grand Inquisitor gets to talk over, we'll leave you here where we found you. It's like, no, when the Inquisitor fails, they die, I thought. Isn't that what happened to all the rest?
I mean, there's only been one Grand Inquisitor that I know of. They didn't replace the Grand Inquisitor after he dies spoiler, in Rebels.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We don't understand the numbering system.
That's really the part. If they just explained that, I would have let all these flaws go. If they just told me. How do you number these people? Who's the first one? Who's the first brother? Who's the first sister? How many are there? All right, Justin. Well, this has been fun. I'm sure this is one I'm going to rewatch, though, for sure, especially this last episode.
One shot. Watch all of it one sitting.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying last night. I'll watch this. I might have that fast forward button at the ready for all that running, Careful for those wild branches that stop bounty
You had to
hunters.
bring that into the stupid branch.
You do it.
You're so angry about that. 5 seconds of the series that really makes you so angry.
Well, if they didn't focus on it so much,
5
but
seconds.
we talked about it. They're trying
5
to engineer
seconds.
charm.
5
They're putting these little weird moments in because they're trying to engineer charm. That's what Disney's doing. It engineers things. It doesn't let moments happen. It engineers them. Engineers your nostalgia.
Mm. Okay.
Think about that. Let's see if you get any sleep tonight now, thinking about that. All right.
All right.
Yippee yay! Yippee yay!
Anyways,
Yanny,
this
yanny,
has been our review of Star Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series that supposedly is only 1 season.
Very limited.
I think if I were to rate this as, I would say most of the series like top tier Star Wars stuff for me. That would be my final words on that.
Good stuff.
But we'll be back for more conversations. If you're, again, like what we had to talk about today, you can check our YouTube channel, check our podcast channel, whatever other version whatever way you want to see or listen to us. We do Let's Plays. Like right now we're playing the Resident Evil 2 remake to scare Paul every Tuesday night, usually around 9 o'clock. We're parents, so we can never commit to an exact time. And check our Twitter account, all that stuff. I know we're doing a show. I think we're talking about the Batman soon. I think that's in a couple weeks, so look out for that. We're going to be rewatching that because we've already watched it a few times. But Paul's been really wanting to talk about that movie with me on recording, so we might not agree as much on that one, but I'll have to see after I rewatch it.
We'll see.
So yeah, stay tuned for that. But until then,
sounds good.
This has been Playing Favorites. I'm Justin.
I'm Paul.
May the Force be with you.